Yerko, good to have you back on again. Talk about an article you had sent me by a German philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer. The
Hmm.
the article, or I don't know if it was an article, or I guess it wouldn't be a book, but some kind of essay he wrote.
Yeah, it
Um,
was an essay. So maybe just go quickly how I came across this.
okay.
So I was browsing on YouTube and I stumbled on um some lady that was doing some review on this channel called Literary Archaeology,
Oh,
and and the video was called 1865 Essay by Arthur Schopenhauer. So it says something about women. So it kind
okay.
of caught, I saw it a couple of times and I said, oh, let's see what this is about. And I skimmed the video and it seemed like something you would be interested in. So
Yes.
I got the link and I got the link and I sent it to you.
Yeah, you
So
were
yeah.
you were very right. This was extremely interesting, especially for a guy that lived in the mid 1800s to talk about
Mm,
female nature in the way that he is in this essay.
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So again, so he do you know much about this German philosopher other than like mid 1800s?
Yeah, so I don't have his dates. Okay, so his dates are 1788 to 1860.
mm,
Um,
wow.
so he's right in yeah, the Victorian era, technically speaking, the Victorian era is considered late middle to late 1800s
Okay.
in England.
Okay.
Yeah, named after Queen Victoria, of course. Although the focus on virtue in that time had more to do with the cleanup operation that Prince Albert organized in the palace than with
Mm,
Victoria herself. But anyway, so Arthur Schopenhauer um, is considered a German philosopher. At least he worked in Germany. Although the information I have here says that he was born the in a city that was part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. But
oh,
of German parents, so
okay.
he's German. He's most well known for his book or his work, The World as Will and Representation. Has
Mm,
some pretty weird, pretty strange ideas. I think it
okay.
might be good to point out that this is not really our guy. So he played around with Eastern religions.
Oh, really?
He was he was playing around a lot with Eastern religions. His basic concept was that the physical world was so the physical world is a representation of a blind and irrational nominal will. Yeah, so not a
So
Christian.
so he's yeah,
Uh,
not a Christian, but I guess he's not an atheist or maybe some kind of pagan Eastern religion,
yeah,
whatever thing.
you probably might call him some kind of a I don't know what to call him actually.
Mm, yeah.
So,
Well,
I don't
so he's
know.
a strange guy,
Uh,
but he is a German philosopher,
yeah,
probably a pretty smart guy. But he
yes.
comes
He was yeah, so he was quite influential. He was quite influential on, especially his ideas on art were quite influential on Richard Wagner.
oh,
Um,
okay.
his ideas on art and aesthetics, and he was quite influential in Germany in on certain German philosophers up to World War One. So this is not a fringe guy. He's pretty well known.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So do you think I guess we need to just get into it here on this essay he wrote on women. But do you think very many people read this and like gave it thoughtful attention, or do you think this was just kind of some weird thing that nobody paid attention that he did?
I'm not talking here on what I know. I'm probably speculating, but it's most likely that a lot of people did read his essay,
Mm.
and at least the kind of argumentation that he's using was one that would have been familiar to the people of his day,
Oh,
arguing from nature. Here's important on romanticism and what romanticism is.
okay.
Capital R, romanticism. We often hear romanticism when we immediately think Valentine's Day love and
Yeah.
so on. And while that is part of romanticism, that's not really that's not all of it. That's
Mm.
not even really the main thing.
Okay.
The main thing is a return to nature.
Huh.
Um, so the way I summarize romanticism is and it's a response to the Enlightenment and its view of the world as materialistic.
Mm.
Uh, and the Romantics were trying to recover a Christian view of the world that the world was essentially enchanted, and recover to look at the world as God made it. So there were three elements in Romanticism. Okay, I put these words, okay, but they're good as an alliteration. So the internal, the external, and the eternal.
Okay.
Okay. So the internal represents the full range of human emotions. So not just love, but all human emotions.
Okay.
Um, and then the external is the natural world as you can observe it.
Mm.
Um, so and the eternal is of course the divine or God.
Yeah.
Um, there was a spectrum among the Romantics. Some were Christian. Um, Originally, it came from Roman Catholics, traditional Roman
Oh,
Catholics. But there was a big spectrum as the century went on.
okay.
But the main idea is that these three things are connected,
Mm.
right? Um,
Body,
I
soul, and
wanted
spirit.
to, yeah, so the natural and the spiritual work together, and
Mm.
the emotional part of man it's also part of nature. So there's a lot of parallel being drawn. You read romantic poetry, um, there's a lot of this. I wanted to show you some examples, but I don't have them right now.
Huh.
Um,
Okay.
I don't know, right, but maybe I'll send it to you
Sure.
by email. But essentially, what you have is so this is foreign to us, even to Christians, because we think in a materialistic kind of way.
Mm.
Okay, so when we look at nature, when we look at nature, we just say, "Oh, that's just nature, that's just material."
Mm.
But uh, not so for the entire of Christian history and specifically for the Romantics. So nature has inherent meaning because it's connected. It's connected with the spiritual realm, and it's connected with God, and it's also connected with human emotions. So
Mm.
you see a lot of parallel being drawn between the two. So this tradition, of course, goes back. You can see you can probably figure out, right? This is all over the Bible, right?
Mm.
Constantly drawing from nature, and we often say, no, they're just illustrations. No, they're not illustrations. What he's doing is um, is there's something in nature as God designed it that reflects spiritual realities and emotional
Mm.
realities.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the most explicit one is, of course, Song of Solomon, where the marriage relationship is described.
Hmm.
Um, with a lot of references to nature, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So this essentially what romanticism is, right? So it's essentially a recovery of Christendom and Christian thought in the face of this new materialistic Enlightenment philosophy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right.
so yeah, with that, then Schopenhauer's on women, he talking of just kind of in the same vein of what you're saying here is that he starts off with one need only to look at a woman's shape to discover that she is not intended for either too much mental or too much physical work. And I thought, okay, well, I could maybe understand the physical work thing, but I wonder what's he mean by just by her shape, she's not intended for too much mental work. Like what I'm not sure what he's getting at there with that first statement.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So so again, the idea is and I'll probably just this takes a long time, but again, you look at scripture, it constantly talks this way. So I'm not going to take time to prove that this way of seeing the world is correct. I'm just going to assume that you and your viewers already believe it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, so everything is connected.
Mm,
Everything's connected. So if you can see by the way a woman's body is made, naturally made, that she's not fit for much physical work,
yeah.
then it would follow, right? It would follow uh, naturally and logically that she's not meant for much hard mental work or spiritual work either,
Mm. But
right?
just by the shape though, that's what I'm saying. Well, like, well, what I guess why that's I'm just kind of confused on like why the shape would
Well, by her, yeah, it probably means what he probably means is um the woman's figure is more delicate,
uh-huh.
small, relatively smaller. Um, it's shaped
Oh,
yeah, more
okay.
delicate, more smaller figure, generally speaking, not as strong, um, not as resilient, and so on.
Okay. So that could be a reflection he's saying of the mental work, the mental load that can be
Yeah,
placed.
or everything, it's everything in general, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the guys I know that are can certainly handle a huge mental load. It isn't really reflected in them being like huge, a huge frame of a man that's like over 6 foot and blah blah blah. Like, you
Hmm.
know, smaller guys, they certainly seem to be able to hold their own in the mental realm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I would see that same
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
just
Again,
within the male frame.
there are exceptions, but I think the general rule is men tend to be stronger physically and mentally than women, just
Well, yeah,
in
so
general.
yeah, I would agree, but we would draw that from more like just aptitude testing and that kind of stuff, but just not. I guess I wouldn't draw that from their shape though. Like if we would say that for a man to man, like okay, from a man's shape between two men, which one would be better for mental load? I don't know if you could really say that. Like if a
Yeah,
guy
no,
was,
the thing is we're not just looking at individuals, we're looking in general per capita, right? So
mm,
per capita, uh you can find obviously you can find a man that is less strong than an individual man that is less strong than an individual woman.
yeah,
But in general, women's women's bodies are made in such a way to convey the idea of weaker, right? Peter calls women
yeah, the
the
weaker
weaker
vessel.
vessel. a
Yeah.
weaker vessel,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. But I
And
mean more in the
that,
mental. Yeah, I totally agree in the physical, but I mean in the mental part, I don't know. That's where I'm just wondering where he's saying like her shape would indicate she is mentally weaker. And so I was like, well, I mean, I would think you would get that from just general mental aptitude testing, not just by her shape. But like you're saying, like maybe a more delicate frame could indicate more delicate state of mind, I guess.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't, but that's why I'm saying, like, a more
yeah.
delicate
It's
frame of a man doesn't necessarily mean he could have a very high IQ and have a
mhm.
delicate frame.
Yeah, no, he can, but I think we would recognize that as an exception. Yeah, so being smaller, more delicate physically, right?
Yeah.
And or relatively speaking, more delicate than some women, but also being strong mentally.
Yeah. No, I don't mean between men and women. I mean just between men and men that a smaller framed man to me wouldn't necessarily indicate a
Hmm.
weaker mental state.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
know, but I think you can make a general observation between men and women, which is what he's doing.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You know, he's not arguing relative things between men.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, men, people in general, but men today are have gotten weaker for various reasons. So
Yeah. Weaker
yeah,
physically and mentally. I think it would,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Except
all
for
those all
the,
the
well, that's the weird thing too. It's like the general population, I think, is weaker mentally and physically. But then
mm.
when you go to the extremes, then it's like physically it's never been better for our like extreme athletes in that or our top athletes
Mm.
probably never stronger or faster than they are now, but the general population
Mm.
is probably never weaker that is that's ever
Yeah, no,
been.
especially men.
Yeah.
The way I express it is you would and I've heard some people who claim that women do better in IQ tests than men.
Mm.
And my answer to that is well, what do you expect? We fry our boys' brains with Ritalin, and
Oh.
then whatever is left after that hasn't been fried by the time they become teenagers, we fry with pornography. So what do you
Mm.
expect,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Uh,
actually, yeah, I would agree with that. But then I've heard just the standard mean like of your bell curve that the male bell curve is still a little higher
mm,
than the
yeah,
female. And then obviously
yeah,
everybody kind of knows like on the extremes you have way more male geniuses,
yeah,
but you
mm,
also have way more male degenerates as well, and the
yeah,
women kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
fall a lot more in the middle
yeah, yeah.
in that regard.
Of course, we're looking at how the world is now after 100 plus years of industrialization
Mm,
and a whole lot of garbage being
yeah,
eating a whole lot of garbage. So
yeah.
not so in the 1800s where people would actually observe, despite the fact that the Industrial Revolution did happen in the early 1800s, most people were still familiar with um, we're still close enough to nature to be able to observe things that they are supposed to be, um,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
without
could
all
believe
this
that. Yeah,
engineering. Yeah.
yeah. So he says um, that she pays the debt of life not by what she does, but what she suffers, the pain of childbearing, caring for the children, and by subjection to man, to whom she should
Mm.
be a patient and cheerful companion. So, being subject to a man, he's counting as suffering. for the woman. And I was like, I mean, I guess it depends on the man, but
Yeah, yeah. Remember, Schopenhauer's not a Christian,
yeah,
so he's a bit he talks a bit like an evolutionist sometimes.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, I would
and
agree that, I mean, because I even know, some women that, I mean, I guess you could probably classify it as suffering to submit to a man who's failing, who
mm,
is, just a lousy leader and that.
yeah, yeah,
Now, at the same time, I don't know hardly any women that do actually submit to even a good man. So, let alone a one that's failing and all the rest. So I would just wonder to
right,
myself,
right.
where are all these women that are subject to their men? Like, I don't, in the modern day, maybe it was way more so back in this day because society kind of held the females to a standard. But um, you
Yeah.
know, I yeah, I
Well,
wonder.
I think precisely what he's arguing is he's observing some issues. Later on, he'll go into the problems with women inheriting property,
Oh,
and he doesn't like it. Uh, and
well, yeah, we'll get into
some other
that.
things.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
just from
but
based on we're gonna go through what the first five paragraphs and just based
mm,
on what that women are basically large children. Like I would guess he wouldn't like them inheriting property then, if that if that's the case.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
so the way he's dealing with the beginnings of what we call feminism in Europe. So he's
really?
really criticizing that. Yeah,
You mean like the what was it? Seneca Falls was like 1850s, I guess. So yeah, maybe he would.
1848 in America, but that's in America. Okay,
Oh,
the feminist ideas in Europe, um, at least what you could call the sort of feminist ideas.
mm,
They wouldn't probably wouldn't have called themselves feminists. That's an American term.
okay.
Will probably go back to the French Revolution.
Wow,
Some
really?
women in the
Okay.
French Revolution were pushing ideas like that, and later on, the 18th, 19th century, um, they began um, to give over certain things to women, inheritance, for example,
Mm.
um, and so on.
I do wonder
Uh,
when he says she pays the debt of life by suffering through the pains of childbirth and care for the child. I I wasn't even going to the pains of childbirth and care for the child, but more like I think in those days, women had, there's no birth control and medicine was pretty lousy. So a lot of women had to live through, miscarriages and early, you know, child children dying at a young age, which I mean would really take a
mm.
mental toll on a mother. Like I can sympathize with that, but he's not really talking about that.
No,
He's just,
he's not talking about that. He's talking in general.
mm,
Female nature, right? The man he what he says is the man is defined by what he does, right? His leadership, taking dominion, and so on. What
mm,
he achieves, whereas the
yeah.
woman, according to him, he would be defined by what she quote unquote suffers,
Oh.
pains of childbirth. It's almost like he's saying that's her role,
Well,
is
we do
to
kind
do
of. Do you
these
think
things.
that does seem to be the view, at least in the church? Like, when we talk about mothers and on Mother's Day, it's just, oh, they're such saints for how they've raised their children and put up with all the
Hmm.
late nights and them throwing up and blah, 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 blah. And there seems to be some reverence there for how the mothers have suffered through raising their children, yada, yada, yada. Um, so maybe he's right in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it suffering. Again, I don't know. His attitude is a little strange. Again, he can't help but argue from a Christian tradition because he's
Mm,
arguing from nature, which nature is from God, and
yeah.
he's writing in a tradition that
Mm,
goes back to Thomas Aquinas
oh,
that argues from nature. So he can't help but argue this way, but his own attitude seems to be somewhat his own attitude is coming from his exposure to Eastern mysticism and a kind of pessimistic view of life. And
mm,
that life is it's that life all you do in life is suffer, and then the only salvation, the source of salvation is to basically lose your individuality and
oh,
become part of the will.
mm,
Called the very Eastern kind of idea.
okay. Well, so he
Yeah.
says something I thought was interesting that just talking about the nature of men and women. He says the greatest sorrows and joys are not given assigned to women, but they're assigned to men. But
Mm,
women are more assigned to being quiet and gentle and being essentially, as he says, without her being essentially happier or unhappier. So they're kind of just in this middle state all the time. They don't get the great joys, but they don't get the great sorrows. They're just kind of in this mediocre state. Um,
I
and
don't
that's
think that's what he's saying. I don't think that's what he's saying.
okay.
He does seem to have some bit of a negative view of women, but I don't think that's what he's saying here. He's just saying that um, since he seems to say that women are natural followers, and their job is not by nature is to submit.
Yeah.
So the big joys and sorrows of building and achievement and
Mm,
uh, and legacy and so on belong to the men because they're made to be leaders and women are not.
mm,
Right?
yeah. Well,
Um,
it kind of made me think of with the greatest sorrows and joys, the greatest quote by Teddy Roosevelt when he talks about the man in the arena, and he
mm,
says at the end of his that little quote, he says, "Their place will never be with those who know victory, neither victory nor defeat." Or it's something like that. And it may it's the man that's really striving for something, and maybe he comes up short. He
right.
knows the sorrow, but then when he has victory, then he knows the great joy.
Mm.
Um, Kind of made me think of that with his.
Yeah, that's true. Again, I don't think what he's saying is women do not experience joys or sorrows.
Yeah, but the
He's
big
what he's
ones.
doing is comparing the experience of women to experience of men. Um,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
since women are to live a quieter um walk through life as essentially reflections of the man or followers of the man, to
Mm.
use scriptural language,
Yeah, maybe
and
I should have
that's
more.
the
Yeah, maybe I
that's the
should have more
reason.
compassion on women for that. They don't get the great joys, like just like women's sports are kind of pathetic, you don't see them like really
Yeah.
triumphing, like when Larry Bird and the Celtics beat Magic Johnson and the Lakers and everybody is just like and then vice versa
Mhm.
and like there's no women's sports that really do that. It's just like
Yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Even in the home, right? Um,
Mm,
a fatherhood. We've lost this today, but I believe fatherhood is a greater calling than motherhood, which
mm,
is not to say that motherhood isn't great, but
yeah.
just as the fatherhood is greater.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, I think I can get on board with that. So the next The next paragraph, boy, he really gets rough on the women. Where he
Yeah.
he says the women are to act as nurses and educators for early childhood for the simple reason that they themselves are childish, foolish, and short sighted. In a word, they are big children all their lives. And something intermediate between a child and the man who who is a man in the strict sense of the word. So, and I think he's meaning, well, actually, but I just thought, whoa, well, don't hold back there. Like you, you,
Yeah.
you are
No,
just, and really, he made
he's
me think. I don't know if you
he
know.
stay he states it as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And
Well,
this was understood, right? He's saying so. He's not saying anything new
that's
here.
hard. That just to me, that's so hard to believe that. And I guess it's just because in the modern day, we've just been so inculcated with like egalitarian
Yeah,
speech.
no, we're enlightenment people, even
Yeah.
Christians there. We're
But for him
enlightenment
just to
people.
say that, and you're
Uh,
saying like this was just widely accepted, people would have been just like, well, yeah, duh. It when he
no, no,
said this back.
you read Thomas Aquinas, for example.
Oh,
You read Thomas Aquinas. I haven't read Thomas Aquinas, but I did see explore one of the things that he says about women, and he calls her incomplete.
whoa,
She's the incomplete agent. Um,
wow.
and the
Okay.
man is the complete agent that gives form to the woman.
Yeah, that's so. I was just
And
gonna
so
go to
this was understood um,
back in the day.
everywhere, right? In before feminism and egalitarianism
Yeah.
took over.
Why'd and that's the saddest thing that in the church, even with all of our churches where we believe the
Mm.
Bible is the inspired word of God
Mm.
and blah 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 blah, when we get to these type of thoughts, it's like, I mean, we should be the ones more than anybody saying, well, yes, of course, a woman is incomplete without a man because she was created to be the helper to the man.
Mm.
Like, we
Mhm.
should be the ones that are just on board with this more than anybody. Like it's right there in the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
chapter of the
yeah.
Bible.
Mm. Yes,
So
yes, yes.
anyway, I was going to say
Yeah,
Rich
so it's
Cooper in the
mm.
kind of in the red pill space. Rich Cooper was an entrepreneurs in cars. He had one of the things that's it's just stuck in my mind. It's like I can't get it out of my mind when he said he's just talking in general. Many times, not always, but many times, women act like the oldest teenager in the house, and I've never forgot him saying that because it is like so
Yeah,
true.
it's possible. And to be fair, that's true today, probably because girls are not disciplined.
Oh,
So they grow up to be undisciplined women.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it should be
yeah,
that way, but yeah.
yeah. That's
The little
true.
girls
Yeah, I
are
could see that
treated
as
like
well.
little princesses. So
Mm,
which is fine as long as you discipline her. But unfortunately, with girls, there seems to be more of a hesitance to discipline
yeah,
um
yeah, I
young
could see
girls.
that.
So yeah.
Um, let's see. He says with girls, nature has had in view what is called, in a dramatic sense, a striking effect, for she meaning nature endows them with a few years of or with a richness of beauty and a fullness of charm at the expense of the rest of their lives, so that they may during these years ensnare the fantasy of a man to such a degree as to make him rush into taking the honorable care of them in some kind of form. Probably, I think he's meaning marriage, for a lifetime, a step which would not seem sufficiently justified if he only considered the matter. So it's well, now that
Yeah, so
that
he's
sounds
probably
like
describing.
red pill methodology, right? It's just like, whoa,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. So he kind of again there are different ways of describing this. He seems to be pulling he seems to be coming from more negative view of it. We could say the
Yeah.
same thing from a positive view, but the essential idea, I think, is that um, a woman's beauty is temporary.
Yeah.
A woman's beauty and charm is quite temporary.
Hmm. You
Is
think her charm
it's
has to be temporary? Obviously, beauty does, but
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's her charm is not necessarily temporary if it's internal, but I think what he's getting at. Of course, we don't have to agree with everything Schopenhauer says,
yeah,
um, well, I think the idea is that her charm means this
like naive girl like behavior that's kind of
yeah,
charming and
yeah,
endearing.
probably something like that. This innocent
Yeah, innocence.
maiden and so on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I could see that because that is
is is
attractive.
is
Yeah,
is temporary, and he seems to describe it as good as far as it goes.
yeah.
Um,
To lock down a
but
man.
it's temporary, and
Mm,
and he says it's temporary, and he'll go on later to say that he goes us to explain what he means when he calls women childish. What
mm,
he means is not that they're immature necessarily, but that by nature women tend not to be able to think long term like a man can,
yeah.
uh, or,
Mm,
or to think beyond the immediate um,
situation. Yeah.
the immediate situation.
Yeah, he gets into that in the next paragraph, I think. But
Mm.
then he kind of concludes this one as he's talking about women have their beauty for just a short time to essentially lock down a man. And then he says that for he says he's talking about an ant after I guess what mating loses her wings and then and he says, so for the most part, a woman loses her beauty after giving birth to one or two children, and probably for the same reasons as the ant loses its wings so that it can't fly off and go somewhere else. And I thought, boy, that's kind of interesting there. But the thing
Yeah.
is, too, like, in the modern day, women obviously they're not going to be as beautiful as when they're like 22 and whatever, but after giving birth to a couple of kids, women don't have to look old and haggard, but it just seems like a lot of times they just let themselves go
hmm
and well, here it is, like what.
Yeah, yeah. Again, he probably talking in relative terms.
Yeah.
Um, and again, he's probably discussing physical beauty and just this attractiveness of a young girl, right?
Mm, yeah.
Young teenage girl just gone through puberty.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
versus
that makes sense.
an older lady, right? That's still beautiful in her own way, but nobody would say she's the same, right?
Yeah. Well, and then he says young girls in their hearts regard their domestic or other affairs as secondary things, um, if not a mere jest. So it's just a joke. But love and conquests and all that these include, such as dressing, dancing, and so on, they give their serious attention. And I thought, man, was it really the same then as it is now with like girls just wanting to go to clubs and dance and um, drink and act stupid? And I was like, man, nothing's really changed then with the young women.
Yeah, no, probably not in the same way, but she's probably discussing, right. Um, you probably read Jane Austen, for example. You see these
Mm,
wealthy women that go around displaying their fancy dresses at social parties and so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, at a ball.
In Paris, Paris was big for this,
Yeah.
right? Women hosting parties where where often, not always, but often the main idea was to go show off how well dressed you were,
Mm.
right? Um,
Yeah. That I kind of wish we could go back to those days because, man, when I go out in public anymore, it's like everybody's trying to dress as the worst they possibly can when they're out.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
even
that's true. Yeah.
I took this is kind of bad, but I took my daughter to youth group. She's in junior high,
Hmm.
and I just stay. It's a little bit of a drive to get to our church, so I just stay there and usually like read a book. Like I was reading The Pursuit of God by Tozer. So I just stay there and read a book, but I'm observing these young junior high guys and girls, and I'm just like, what is like nobody dresses up even dresses normal. It's like most people are
Yeah,
coming in
no.
there in their pajamas and stuff. They got pajama pants on and just look frumpy. And I'm like, what? No,
Yeah,
like we're
today
at
is
church. Yeah.
everybody today just dress thumpy or immodest.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
either thumpy or immodest, and yeah, no, that's
yeah, it's pretty
that's
pathetic. I was just like
mm.
the guys and girls, but it seemed like especially the girls. And you think like, girls are supposed to be the fairer sex. Like you think they would want to look nice. And there wasn't many of them that seemed like they could give a rip about looking nice. And
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah, no, the problem is we've the pro so here's the one of the main problems today, modern society,
mm,
even in the church. One, we've gotten away from God. That's obvious. But
mm,
also, we've gotten away from nature.
mm,
Right?
yeah,
We're an unnatural society.
okay,
We're not only an ungodly society, we're also an unnatural society. And one of the things is yeah, sure, spiritual qualities are most important.
mm,
No, nobody's disagreeing with that. But some people say that they're the only thing that matters.
mm,
So nobody cares if you say you care about physical beauty or a woman or a man for that matter,
mm,
taking care over his appearance. Some people start calling you carnal, right?
yeah,
Because you're taking care of your appearance. You want to be fit, right?
mm, yeah,
You want to dress in an attractive way, right?
yeah, yeah,
So all of those things that they understood that spiritual qualities were more important, but that doesn't change the fact that physical things or natural things are also important to God, and they should be important to us. Right?
yeah, yeah. Well, it seems
People,
like I've heard those arguments until the girl gets to be about 30. And then they're like, hey,
uh-huh.
you really need to start paying attention to being fit and dressing well because you still don't have a man. And you got like when they're 20, they're like, oh, well, don't be so vain and blah 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 blah. If they're still single at 30, then it's like, whoa, yeah, you need to be a little more vain. And I've kind of seen that them
I don't
hop
know.
there, when they
I don't know. I haven't seen it. People, at least from what I've heard, people seem to think it's an irrelevant. Um,
mm, yeah.
it's an irrelevant, and not only for women, right? For men as well. Should men be
Oh,
fit,
yeah.
right? Should men dress in a dignified way?
Mm, oh, yeah.
We have
Well,
this
now that, yeah, I
cliche.
can see that because
We have this cliche of men being disorderly slobs.
yeah, to be a
Uh,
real man, you shouldn't care about your appearance.
disorderly slob. I mean, where that come from?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is dumb. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
keep going here.
yeah.
on the article
Ah,
here.
but notice, first, before that, notice the connection with nature here. So he consciously compares the a woman's design with the design of an ant,
Yeah.
right? That's a big it's a big example of this kind of um
Oh, romanticism.
this kind of argumentation that
Mm,
um again, Bible full of the Bible's full of that kind of thing, and
yeah.
also the Christian tradition is as well. I just wanted
Well,
to point that out, just to give you an example.
so this is this is really profound too. In the next paragraph, he talks
Hmm.
about how a man reaches his what the full maturity of his mental faculties around 28, and a woman when she's 18. So do you is that in general true about men reaching the fullness of their
Yeah, I
mental?
don't know. I don't know about in general. I don't know what the statistics are. Um, but at least from what he argues, the reason for this is that um, the reason it takes longer for the man to reach full maturity is because his thinking is deeper.
Mm,
He's
okay.
I can't remember how he said it. You probably have the article in front of you,
Yeah.
but he says something like a man can think long term, can ponder things, um, ponder the implications of things.
Yeah. He
Um,
observes and
uh,
ponders over the past and future.
yeah, and steps over the meaning of things.
Mm-hmm.
Where women don't as much. So that's probably why he says it takes long. That's why it takes longer, right? It's because
Yeah.
he has a
Well, I
higher
just
mental
remember
faculty.
I don't know about you, Yerko, but I remember so I went straight from high school to getting my undergraduate degree,
Hmm.
bachelor's of science, and then when I was 28, I started a master's of divinity because I wanted to
Hmm.
be an army chaplain. And I
Yeah.
just remember thinking, I think the subject, I was doing engineering for a bachelor's, so maybe the material was um, easier. But I just remember thinking when I was 28 and that it was just so much easier to study and focus and do the work that I
Mm.
was doing than it was when I was from like 18 to 22 doing my bachelor's in engineering. Because that was like a nightmare compared to when I was 28 then. And I kind of felt like he was like he's saying in here that it was just so much easier to think and like I don't know. I think I can identify with what he's saying here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think some people today, don't quote me on this, but I think the statistic today is you reach your mental maturity when you're 25 or something, but
for
I'm
men.
not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do they say it's different
You're
for men and
at
women, or are
least
they?
not. Yeah, I don't know, but I seem to remember at least the brain, right? Not even our. They're not talking today. Today, we as scientists today don't talk about our spiritual or immaterial mental faculties, but just
Oh, yeah.
measuring the brain, right, as a physical thing. They seem to think that it reaches its maturity at 25. Um,
Mm,
yeah, I'm not sure though. It's it isn't a rule for every individual, I don't think.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
so he goes.
it makes sense. It makes sense if what he's saying is that. a man is designed by God, and we
Mm-hmm.
understand that a man is designed by God for leadership and for leadership responsibilities in every area,
Mm-hmm.
then he would need to have um, a um, higher mental faculties just for that alone.
Well, yeah, that's
Right?
true. Yeah. Which is why it's such a tragedy when we get into like complementarian um theology of men and
Mm.
women, and where they don't root that in nature, and they just say, well, God has designed these roles. We're all equal. We're all equally capable, but
God
God for
designed the
some
world, yeah.
crazy reason has assigned these
Got
roles, and so we need
flip
to
the
take them
coin.
seriously.
Yeah, got flip the coin and got flip the coin,
Yeah.
and oh, okay, it's gonna be the man then because I flipped the coin, and that's really that's blasphemous. I mean, what kind of
Yeah.
view of God do you have?
Yeah, stupid.
It's-
Yeah. But
uh,
he does in that, he says, and Schopenhauer says in his article, that the woman is intellectually short-sighted, for although her intuitive understanding quickly perceives what is near to her, on the other hand, her circle of vision is limited and does not embrace anything that is remote. Now, that made me think of, in the red pill space, they talk
mhm.
about how women are, um, it's not narcissistic, it is, um, why can't I think of the term now? It's like you can only think about things, you only think and care about things that are close, like that affect you. It begins with an O. Shoot, I don't know why I can't think of the term here, but
Mm,
I can't think of the term. But anyway, it's kind of like narcissism, but not exactly, because it's like, in general, it's like I really only care about my family and my friends, and anything else I can't wrap my head around like caring
mhm.
about that. Um
Right.
I can't, man, I can't think of the term for it. Anyway, um
Yeah, I don't know the term either, but
it was because, and the example that a lot of times will be used is when Hillary Clinton said, the real victims of war are the women who are left behind when their men get killed. And that's where everybody's like, what? Well, what about the guy that died? And you're like, nah, he's not the real victim.
yeah, yeah. I can kind of get it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's on her own. Uh, she's on her own now. You know, she got to survive on her own, and so on and so forth. I suppose I
Yeah.
can get it, but yeah, no. The idea is that the idea is so here's an example. Here's an example. I think that's a little helpful, and it took me a while to to think this out. So you know this genre, literary genre called women's fiction
Yeah.
that actually exists, right? Women's fiction.
Really?
So yeah, so I was wondering when I well what makes it women's fiction?
Mm.
Because I've read books with female heroines, right? And I don't think it's just that the main character is a woman. That's not really the case. You can have or I think you can have novels that are quote unquote women's fiction where the main character is a man.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while thinking about it, well, what makes the difference between women's fiction and just regular fiction? Uh, and
Mm.
I think it's this. I think it's this. Um, when a man writes a novel, right? When a man writes a novel, generally speaking, you have what I call a complete story. Okay. So you have relationships, you have emotions, you might have a love story, but all of that is in the context of a wider story. There's a mission, there's some kind of philosophical idea that's being communicated. It's more complete,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
where when a woman writes a novel, especially if a woman writes a novel for women, uh, she hyper focuses on one thing, namely the relationships, right?
Okay.
So it's not like women have learned over time how to write all the novels, right? I mean, women can't do this, but generally speaking, right? If a woman writes a novel for women, right? Hence
Hmm.
women's fiction. Um, it's the story. The point of the story is the whatever relationship is being explored and nothing else.
Oh, yeah.
The relationship is the story.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
for just regular fiction that both men and women find truly inspiring, um, they have relationship, they have emotions, right?
Mm,
It's not that they don't have them, but they have them, and it's found in a wider context, the broader context,
yeah.
right? There's a mission, there's some kind of a plot, there's some kind of a philosophical point to all of it.
Yeah. That
Um,
makes sense. So the term I finally thought of, the term I'm thinking of is solipsistic, is what in the
mhm.
red pill space. Say women are solipsistic. Say that a lot. And I guess
Yeah.
solipsism is um let's see, I guess a practical thing is like feeling that your own mind creates everything, including physical objects and sensations, making
Mm.
you the sole reality. So it's kind of, for me, it's kind of hard to wrap my head around like what solipsism really means. I mean, it's kind of related to being narcissistic. Um, but
Yeah, I think it might have more to do with just postmodernism in general.
yeah,
Uh,
well, it says too, like solipsism denies external reality,
yeah,
which
yeah.
man, we
Hmm.
seem to see that in a lot of crazy liberal
Yeah.
women. But it's just like,
Yes, yes, yes. Mm.
um, anyway, though, so he, in this last paragraph that we were going to talk about, he kind of concludes with women in their hearts think that men are intended to earn money so that they may spend it, if possible, during their husband's lifetime, but at any rate, after his death. That's like, um, that seems, I don't know if that's the case or not. Maybe
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it may be true at times, but again, it's the
well, he's talking
I,
about,
I
sorry
I
to
know
interrupt.
I know yeah I know what people sometimes say about the cliched woman, right? That's constantly buying things without any planning or forethought.
Yeah.
Um, it uses the credit card, and yeah, I don't know, but it,
Yeah,
it
he's
seems to be it seems to be talking about the same thing. So the man has seems to have the natural, again, this is nature, right? The
yeah.
natural capacity to um to think the to think on the immediate and also on the remote, so the long term, the long term consequences of things, um,
Yeah.
the meaning, the deeper meaning of things. Whereas the woman um, just stays, it tends to just stay with the immediate, right?
Yeah. Well, and he even says that she yeah, she's with the immediate and she focuses on what is near to her and does not embrace anything that's remote.
Yeah.
And which kind of goes into that solipsism type of uh
Uh,
argument there, it seems. But
and it seems to be again, it seems to be confirmed by the fact that there is such a thing as women's fiction, and
mm,
they do have this characteristic. Right?
oh
So
yeah.
you read romance novels, modern romance novels,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially that's what they are, right?
Oh,
They're novels in which the story is the relation the story the point of the story is the relationship. Um, the relationship is the beginning, middle, and end of the story, right?
oh
There's nothing beyond that,
yeah.
right? And
Well, did
most people, especially men, don't find that they'll like it, they'll read it, but they won't find it very inspiring.
yeah.
Whereas with the great books, yeah, you have that. It's
Mm,
not that you don't, right? You have that. You have the relationship. You have everything else. But it's again, it's a broader context. So
mm,
there's some kind of a mission. There's some kind of philosophical ideas. So
yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Did you watch my latest video about these AI boyfriends that they're starting
Uh,
to come out with?
yeah, I did. I
That
left a
that I
comment
think
for
is
you
scary.
talking
Like,
about talk. So I left a comment for you. I think about Tolkien's letter about the machine.
oh, I don't think I
Um,
read that yet. I'll have to look for it.
yeah. So if you can, I really would suggest you get hold of J.R. Tolkien's letter
Mm,
to Milton Waldman on his book The Silmarillion. He summarizes the book, and also summarizes some of the ideas that he's exploring. And one of them is um, building within the natural order, which is called art,
mm.
and then trying to bulldoze or twist nature through either sorcery, magic, or the machine, right?
Oh, oh,
Um, yeah.
the
So
same
the
kind of
idea
thing
is that
then. Yeah,
so the machine, right, is you're trying to change nature in an unnatural kind of way. Right.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that with the AI boyfriends and AI girlfriends that I think we're gonna come out with here. Well, I guess it's already out in some
Oh,
ways,
my
but
God.
man, I think that stuff is so dangerous. I think the church, the pastors should be screaming from the housetops that people need to avoid this at all
Yeah,
costs,
yeah,
but they won't, and so it'll probably just seep in. But I'm gonna say we need to avoid it at all costs. I'll at least put it out there somewhere.
yeah.
Christians should
Yeah,
not
no,
be engaging in this.
lately I really grown to appreciate the importance of nature as as a true revelation from God. Right?
Yeah.
The scriptures are the ultimate revelation from God, but
Yes.
nature is also,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
the natural order, we don't get to, we have authority over the earth, but we don't get to um, just change the way God designed nature to operate just because we think we can make it better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's right. Mm. All right, Yurko. I think that's let's keep working our way through the essay, but that was what I wanted to get to tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good discussion. You got anything else before we close it out?
Yeah, so just leave with this. Despite the fact that many of Schopenhauer's ideas are not Christian and are not romantic,
Mm-hmm.
he knows certain things and he's able to observe certain things um, in nature, right?
Yeah.
These are things that are true because uh, because God put them in His creation, right?
Mm, yeah.
And the difference I would have with him is that these are not negative things. He seems to have some kind of a negative view of of women,
Yeah.
but yeah, because these things are true, right? It's not a negative. It's a positive because if we understand what a woman is made for, right?
Oh,
She's
yeah.
made to be a she's not meant to be independent. She's not meant to be a leader. She's meant to be a follower,
Yeah.
a support play a support role, a subordinate to man.
Mm-hmm.
Then we shouldn't be surprised that these things are true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. With she needs to work within the framework that God has made.